Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle, the podcast for high performers who've gone all in, but still feeling a little stuck. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, coach, speaker, and creator of the Prime Performance Process. If you're a solopreneur, small business owner, or just launched your side hustle and you're tired of grinding with no momentum, this is for you. Every week, we bring you guests that have broke the code, generated momentum, and finally got unstuck. And we're diving into their stories, their struggles, and their secrets to generating massive momentum in both their personal and professional lives. We don't do fluff here. We do frameworks, real talk, and share the kind of insights that get you unstuck for good. Welcome, and let's get rolling. But before we dive in, I gotta remind you, if you're overwhelmed, spinning your wheels, or just tired of hustling without the results, it's time for a Prime Performance Strategy session. In this free call, we'll zoom out on your life and business, identify the real reason you're feeling stuck, and build a game plan to help you reclaim your confidence, energy, and gain some clarity so you can get back to doing what you set out to do. Lead, grow, and thrive. This isn't surface level coaching. It's a system built on resilience, intentionality, clarity, and alignment. So head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to grab your spot today. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Let's get going and help you look good, feel good, and do great things. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. Today, we've got Jordan DePuy on. He is a longtime banking professional in the Hudson Valley who's quietly built an impressive portfolio of side businesses while maintaining a full-time career. From growing an ATM business from just a few machines to many more, to investing in real estate and other ventures. Jordan represents what it really looks like to build wealth methodically, responsibly, and with family at the center. Jordan, man, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Doing good, Rob. Thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to kind of dive in. I've known you for many years and pretty much like since high school, maybe even before that, middle school area. And I know that you've spent over a decade working in the banking world. So I'm curious to kind of dive in and ask you, how did that career path begin and what originally drew you into like finance world?
Yeah, so it's actually funny. I'll start off saying I'm actually a banker by accident. Actually happens to more bankers than you would think. They don't really push banking too much when, you're going in college and whatnot. But it really started, I was in high school and I was really down to kind of thinking about pre-med. I just had a knack for medicine and helping people that way. I had a grandfather who, he was pretty sick when I was in high school, and I was just in the hospital more than I would really have wanted. And I kind of picked up a lot of things in there and just trying to figure out, what was going on every time when we went to go visit him and, see prognosis and things like that. And then money's always been a passion of mine, just how to grow money. I come from a family that didn't have too much growing up. We were actually on some government benefits growing up for a good while. And, it's just something that, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I have this? Can I have that? And the answer was like, unfortunately not, we don't have the money for that, was an answer I heard too much. So I knew I wanted to do something where I can make money somehow, some way. Work ethic was just really instilled in me when I was younger. So I couldn't deal with blood at all. So I said, let me go the finance route. I studied finance at Seton Hall University. Go Pirates. Currently 25th in the country. We'll see how long that lasts. But from there, I landed a job at a company called AXA, where I thought I was going to be a stockbroker and I was going to set the world on fire and really help people just understand money, grow money. A lot of people I went to school with, they talk this really high language and use a massive vocabulary and everything. I just want to kind of dumb things down for people, put in plain words and just things to really make people be able to understand what they are doing, how they can grow their money and whatnot. So I graduated a year early, thanks to Highland High School and all their credits. And my quote unquote senior year, which should have been my senior year, I worked in New York City. I'll call that a unpaid internship because I was strictly commission and I made a whopping $500 probably on one sale. It got to the point where I couldn't afford a train ticket down anymore. So I literally had to turn in my badge and said, I'm going home. I found a job right about 2 minutes away from me as a commercial loan underwriter. Had no idea what the hell that was. Ended up liking it. I thought I was going to go back to the city, but I really liked it. And I just kind of went from commercial loan underwriting to made a really weird, huge jump to head of residential lending to in charge of all lending operations to literally your whole massive servicing at a small local bank. And in 2023, I made a jump to a much larger financial institution or credit union. And, it's been good since. I've been able to help a lot more people out in that regard just because of the sheer amount of capital we have and kind of go from there. So I'm dealing with businesses all day long. As I have come across my career, I've noticed that people who are really passionate about things and seem to really have more of a wealth than I did, they all started a business somehow, some way. I would just been dealing with them for so long. I was like, okay, like I need to do something. And then that's how ATMs kind of landed in my lap. I'll say I have an older brother who kind of stumbled across the opportunity. I think we started off with about 7 machines. We both kicked in about $5,000 at that time. And we have grown that to, I think last time I checked, we're up to 81 machines right now. Some of them are great. Some of them, they're just there. But, I don't ever want to say no to an opportunity if it's there. So that's kind of how I started that. And then we slowly got into real estate. Right now I own 2 buildings. I'm looking at a third right now. I'm hoping to kind of land. And I'm always looking for opportunities where else, I can grow. Ultimately, I would like to be able to have all these opportunities culminate into one thing, and then I can kind of focus on that and be able to focus on my family at the same time. Give me the freedom to do stuff where I don't have to report in an office 9 to 5 every day. Although I like it, I'd prefer to kind of have the freedom and be able to live in comfortably. I don't need, anything too lavish, nothing too luxurious. I just want to be comfortable. I want my family to be comfortable and be taken care of. I'm fortunate event that I go early or whenever that happens, I'm just trying to think ahead and plan in that direction. So that's kind of my mindset in a nutshell.
Yeah, you said couple of interesting things there that I want to touch on. It's funny because you were talking about the considering medical school and such, and you said that you couldn't do the blood thing too well, so you decided to shift gears. And I'd argue to say that entrepreneurship is pretty bloody business at certain times. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. There's a lot of that in there. So it is tough, but can see you going through there. And also, you said something interesting too when you were working with some individuals who I guess were using like bigger vocabulary, like more fancy words and whatnot. And I see that a lot with a lot of coaches, particularly personal trainers and even like physical therapists too. When they first kick into the world, they like want to kind of prove their worth by using bigger words and sounding smarter. And that kind of acts as like an ego defense thing. And it's interesting because one of my mentors had told me that good leaders can communicate to many people, but great leaders know how to adjust their language to the audience so that it hits better. So when you were mentioning how you were you better at simplifying and making things easier for other people to understand, it's a great testament to the leadership that you have. And I can see that carrying over into your different businesses. So I just wanted to highlight that for a second there as I kind of segue here into it, because the ATM business is pretty interesting and you're juggling a lot of different things. So I want to take us back to when the earlier days when you were just kind of starting things out. 9 to 5, you're relatively new, family, got 2 kids, I believe you said, and you're building something on the side. So what did those earlier days look like for you and how were you juggling everything?
So at the time we started the business, my wife was just my girlfriend. She lived 2 hours away. We were seeing each other on weekends. She would come up every other weekend. I had to go there every other weekend type thing. So for me to do the ATMs, it was kind of like, all right, let me keep myself occupied. I don't have anybody that I need to be here for, like single guy. 5 o'clock rolled around, clocked out. What else is there to do? Let me go to the gym. Let me That would be like 6 o'clock. And then what else? So that's kind of how that started. As we progressed, we started adding more. I got engaged. My now wife moved up to New York and moved in. And then, she transplanted here. She didn't have any friends off the bat. So had it I was everything, legitimately everything to her. Uh, and we got married shortly after that. She started making friends. So that kind of helped out a little bit. She's also a nurse. So she can deal with the blood. I can't. But she has to work late nights sometimes and just ends up working late unexpectedly a lot. So that kind of freed me up unexpectedly at times, and maybe had plans and they just kind of had to fall through because she was trying to build her career at the same time. And that allowed me to unexpectedly be able to grow at the same time and be able to go prospect and whatnot. In 18, we had our daughter. I want to say at that time we might have had 25, 30 machines. It's good that I have a partner, especially one that I trust, because, we were up in the hospital for 2 or 3 days. Something went down. My brother was there to kind of fix it. He was there to kind of load machines, told me to take a week off or whatnot. And it's always good. Go on vacation every now and then. You have somebody here to kind of just manage everything. You don't have to hire anybody. You don't have to rely on somebody else. So as we've grown, we kind of have our own territories. And now that we're up to 81 machines, it's a little bit hard. We have some different avenues to get some more cash into the business when needed. So that way these machines stay filled, because that's the biggest thing. You want the machines to stay filled because every time somebody passes by is an opportunity. Right? When opportunity knocks, you have to be ready. So my machines aren't filled, I'm losing it somehow. Somehow, some way, I guarantee somebody's tries to go use the machine, that's a loss of income for me. So, as we got into COVID, everything shut down. I will say we lost some business at that point. I was a little scared then that we're going to have to shut the business down and whatnot, which would have been okay. Mentally, we would have figured something else out, taking the money that we had earned, the money that we had in our machines, and just got into something else. But, luckily we came back. Things are opening up. Unfortunately, some businesses did close, but that led to some other businesses opening. And we were right there to just offer our services. We've kind of started to toy around with the idea of getting to credit card processing as the world kind of goes more cashless and whatnot, and just be able to pivot a little bit. So sometimes it's tough to juggle. I get the kids on the bus in the morning, head into work. And then depending on my wife, sometimes my nights get blown up because I have to go pick up the kids. I like my career. I like being an entrepreneur. I like being a dad more than anything. And that comes first to me. So anytime I have to step in, I do, obviously. But, it's just, comes with the role of being a dad.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that keeps you on your toes, especially juggling not only like normal 9 to 5, but then other businesses and things as well. I wanted to ask though, because starting off with single digit machines and now essentially climbing to almost triple digit, and like, what was it kind of like? I guess when were you starting to feel like, oh wow, you know what, this is actually legit, like actual income coming in here, and where were you at, kind of like that?
I remember exactly when, where, and all that. It was like August of 2019, and it's like we had just picked up some machines and had made quite a bit of money. At that point, and then I was started getting worried about taxes. I started getting worried about personal income taxes for both me and my brother, just because it was more money than we had thought that was going to come in. I mean, I want to say, we started off doing like $500 a month, I think. And we're like, oh man, this is great. And then it got like 1,000. I was like, all right, cool. 500 for both of us. And then we started to realize like, hey, maybe rather than take everything out, we need to put some of that into the account and grow that. So that way, when the opportunity comes, we're ready to go. We're not digging into our own pockets. We're not getting used to those funds in the side. Like, we're really trying to build something up. In August of 2019, we had our best month at that point. It was enough for both of us to take out $1,000 every month and have more than that in like being added to our accounts. It added to our business account, that is. So I started automatically planning for next year. I'm like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to be so set. It's not even funny. So we actually made a decision at that point, like, hey, like, we work hard, but we don't get to enjoy this enough. Like, sure, like we're stuffing a little bit of cash away here and there, but it's not like we're not actually enjoying it. We're not enjoying it together. Like, what should we do? So we decided to buy a. At that point, my daughter was 11 months old, and my brother had 2 kids of his own. My son wasn't even a thought of yet, and we bought a Disney Vacation Club contract. So it's like a timeshare, whatnot. So we're like, all right, like, let's do this. Like, be great. Like, we have it for 50 years, whatnot. And that, like I said, that was August. We didn't even get to go before COVID hit. And then COVID hit, and we got slammed. Like, everything stopped. I mean, we were doing very little I don't think we had enough to cover the loan at that point, that we took out to pay for that contract. And then we were like, why not? Like, as soon as everything opens up, we have to rebuild. We have to rebuild. We have to grow more, just because it's just in our nature to do that. August 2019 is when I like made it, and March of 2020 is when I'm like, shit, like we need reserves. Like, we need reserves, and we don't have them right now. So
Yeah, that could be pretty wild, right? Because it's like an emotional roller coaster. One minute you're like living the high, you're enjoying it, and then you're setting everything up, and then COVID pulled the rug out from underneath a lot of individuals, and a lot of different businesses kind of suffered from that. But it sounds like you made some solid moves. You made some good pivots, continued to other businesses and things like that. And you see a lot of things too from like the loan kind of world and banking. So what kind of criteria, or like how do you assess when a good opportunity is a good opportunity?
I look at a lot of things personally, and I've been able to kind of judge what's good, what's not good after about 2 or 3 minutes looking at it, just because I'm looking at business financials all day, every day. I know what to ask for now. Whereas if you had asked me 10 years ago, even just being in banking for a couple of years at that point, I didn't know then what I knew today.
Hmm.
It just comes. It's like I don't want to say second nature, but it almost is at this point. It's just from studying and everything. I learned a lot in college. I don't use a lot of that in my life today. Everything I learned on the job. So as I was underwriting these loans when I first started, and then reviewing them later on, I was able to learn exactly what went on the balance sheet, the accounting moves people were making to save on taxes and whatnot, what was real income versus not real income, and what was a real expense, and how much personal stuff people are writing off. So, um, one thing I often say to people as they come in for loans is like, I know you're making money, you're not showing it on paper. It's one of those, you can't have your cake and eat it too type things. Like, you're gonna have to come back after you redo your tax returns next year, because that's really the only thing we can truly rely on. To show income. Because the last thing as a banker you want is to really put somebody in a position where they can't repay a loan you just gave them. So if the numbers don't drive out, it's not a good loan for us. It's not a good loan for our members. It's not a good, we'll have some regulator come in and slap us on the wrist, like, why'd you do that? Without some extraordinary circumstance that we can prove and whatnot. There's always something. But yeah,
Yo, what's up? Sorry for interrupting. It's me, Rob. If you've been listening and thinking, man, I just know I'm capable of so much more, but something's just really not clicking, well, I've got something for you. It's called the Prime Performance Personality Quiz. And in just a few minutes, you'll uncover what's actually slowing you down. So whether it's a mindset block, energy drain, or a lack of clarity, this quiz is going to give you specific insights to help you build momentum again. Again, this quiz is free, fast, and honestly, freakishly accurate. So take it now over at survivingthesidehustle.com/quiz and stop spinning, start winning today. Yeah, I see it. So from what I'm hearing you saying is like you're kind of developed an eye for patterns, and you can kind of pick out and see certain patterns that look good ahead of the time without having to dig in too deep into it. And I'm interested to kind of ask because, well, first, let me ask you this. What's really surprised you the most about building businesses while still staying in the traditional career?
It does get tough because I do want to grow. It doesn't allow me to prospect and get in front of people as much, but it gives me a different appreciation. I know I can now talk to people who have a business a bit better than I can than somebody who can just say, I looked at your business financials all day and not, and I just claim a W-2. It's not to say that people can't do that, but I can empathize with people more. I can empathize with something happened. Something happened with their business and now they need to pivot because that's exactly what I had to do in March of 2020. I can understand the person who wasn't able to work because they had a sick family member that they had to take care of for however long. And now that they can work now, this is how it's going to go. Well, okay, I understand your tax returns don't look great for the last 2 years, but you were dealing. I'll use a personal example. In November of 2019, freaking August 2019 to March of 2020 was like a roller coaster for me. November of 2019, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. At that point, my world stopped for a good year and a half. It almost felt like it was. By January 2021, we lost her. So, the world was shut down. My mom, who was literally my rock outside of my wife, like was not doing great. She was doing great, then she wasn't. She was doing great again, and then we lost. Like we thought she was beating this thing, and then she was gone. And the world stopped, and my business stopped. So being able to rebound from that, rebound from all that stuff, juggle all that stuff, life you can't predict. There's no game plan. There's no blueprint to it. You just have to deal with things as they go. So being able to empathize with people on that and be able to say, okay, you have the experience to do this. I'm willing to take a shot on you. And yeah, your numbers don't look good, but I'm going to make a case for it and be able to plead that case with my management team and my loan team puts me in a different light than somebody else who has never gone through that. I'm able to kind of notice those trends, notice those patterns, understand the BS from the non BS when somebody's actually being truthful and be able to help them out like that. That's why I also like to counsel people too. That's one thing that kind of do on the side a little bit is just to, I won't say get them loan ready, won't say get them business ready, but just kind of help them out where they kind of need to. Like, okay, like you need a loan, but you're not really doing good. But you have all the greatest ideas in the world. How are we going to get from point A to point B? How are we going to get you making money? Most of the time it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they just hit the ball out of the park too. I mean, it's great. It's getting to know those markets that they're in, all the different industries, the different fields, all those things. So I actually worked with a personal trainer recently on how to grow his own business. And the first thing I told him was like, why are you not on Facebook right now in like your community group where, everybody's probably talking politics and what fire is going on and what's that noise outside. Why are you not in there offering a free like group session out in the park next weekend? He's like, I never thought about that. Okay, do that. Had 30 people come up, had 4 clients after that. I said, a couple months later, I said, why don't you do that again? Had another 30 people, another 4 clients. So he went from 0 to 8 in 2 to 3 months. Didn't cost him anything other than his time. And now he's rolling. Now he's getting referrals. He does these free training sessions every now and then. And doesn't have to work at a job he doesn't like anymore. He's his own boss. He can do what he wants. And to me, I got no financial gain out of that. It was just a help. Just a couple ideas and just kind of pushing him along.
Yeah, and that's good insight and good advice you're giving to him, and because it's tough, right? When you're in it, it's hard to kind of see the big picture, and you might not get to see a lot of the opportunities, or you might not know or whatnot because it's risky and it's a lot of things going on, and yourself, you've gone through a lot of ups and downs with the business and starting new business and juggling a lot of things, and so for people listening who are kind of like on the fence about starting something or a little worried about it, you got any advice to kind of help them keep their head cool and like stay grounded? Because you ups and downs, losing your mom, a lot of all this other stuff. How did you keep yourself grounded?
It was hard. There was a lot of sleepless nights the whole time that she was sick, and then after she went, I just had to focus on what I had to focus on. At that point, it was my family. It was my dad. My mom was everybody's rock. So he needed a lot of help too. So it was just, how do I keep going and try to help everybody at the same time? So it really was, I had a good reserve and both financially and mentally that she kind of brought me up with. I hate to say it like this, like, yeah, like I sulked over my mom for a while, but then I had to think like she wouldn't want me to do that. And then another part of me that she had told me was like, look, everybody dies at some point. You just doesn't mean that you have to. So like those words from her really resonated with me. We're coming up on 5 years now this week, and I just keep pushing. I just keep pushing, and I just want to do everything for my family, give my kids the things I didn't have. Like that's my purpose. So for anybody who's looking to make a jump like that, it's you really have to have a purpose that you believe in. I was doing stock brokering and I was really selling life insurance. I didn't believe in that. I didn't believe. Now, don't get me wrong, good financial plan, you probably should have a safety net of something like life insurance. God forbid the worst happens. But at 21 years old, I really wasn't thinking like the worst was going to happen at that point because I'd never gone through anything like that. So I didn't believe in that. And to a point, doing that was my own business. And I didn't, not that I didn't see it like that. I just didn't have a good mentor. When I first started, I had a really good mentor. Like the last month I was there, I ran out of money. And if I probably caught on with him my first week there, my story would probably be a lot different right now. So have a purpose, find a mentor, get as much experience or knowledge as you can on whatever field you're going in, and have a little bit of business acumen. I mean, I know so many guys who kind of unexpectedly get into trouble, whether it's with taxes, whether it's with filing stuff or not filing stuff, setting up their corporations, LLCs, anything like that in the wrong way, that they just don't know. There's no, again, just like life, there's no playbook on business. You're just expected to know these things. So it's funny. I don't know, Rob. I know you're a podcast guy. And you probably like to listen to them. I don't know if you listen to the Strong New York podcast with Kenny Santucci at all.
Nah, I haven't heard that one.
He runs Stronger New York like this September, but he does a podcast. I was listening to it this morning, coincidentally, and they were talking about them starting their own businesses at that point. They're both personal trainers or something like that. But they said, the best things that they ever learned from was not a paid course. It wasn't Tony Robbins. It was being with somebody hands-on training. And if they could go back and tell their 25-year-old self on what to do, it would be, hey, I'll come work for you for free for 6 months. Just give me all the knowledge, that you can give me in that time. Have a couple of different people to bounce off things. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 people that I talk to at least on a weekly basis who have taught me a lot of things in business, that have seen a lot more things than I actually have seen in my career. One's a former banker, one's a former accountant, former business owner, and one guy, I can't even tell you what the hell he ever did. But he has just seen so much that I've been able to kind of hear stories, bounce ideas off them, go out to lunches and dinners with them, with some of their friends who have done well and whatnot. So it's helped me navigate a lot of different situations, has put me in the opportunities I have now. You just have to go out and find them. People are willing to help. It's just, you have to be able to ask. And you have to be okay with a no too every now and then. Like, you can't go ask an accountant to mentor you in business, on between March 15th and April 15th. They're just too busy. So yeah, they might be a little short because they're stressed and whatnot. But if you go to them in May, June, you'll probably get a different answer. Especially, I see a lot of guys who on their back ends of their careers or getting ready to retire and want to sell their businesses. Those guys just want somebody to just kind of take over, and they just don't have anybody to who's willing and motivated to. So it's, you can't treat your business as a 9 to 5 where, oh, 5 o'clock comes, I'm out. You kind of have to be on, especially those first couple of years. You have to be on all the time. I mean, right now, I can tell you if I have a machine that gets jammed, like my wife hates me for this, but I'll drop whatever I'm doing, go fix that machine, and then I'll come back. Because why is that machine going? Is it one person or is there a party going on I didn't know about? And
Yeah.
they need all the money in that machine. So to me, it's always an opportunity. And I'm just always on.
Yeah. I mean, you said a lot of great things there from all the way back, like a lot of people with business acumen. Like I knew when I first got into strength and conditioning, got my master's, exercise science, all of this, and it helped me kind of scale my book of business up to a point where I had plenty of clients and I was working almost too much to the point of like burnt out, and that kind of slowed things down. And when I made the shift into doing things like solely, like all you do is what you know. So you're still doing the passion project. You're not doing a business. You just created another job for yourself. And that's hard because you love what you do, but you also want this business to grow because it's essentially it's alive. It's like it is its own thing. You want it to grow. You got to feed it. You got to give it attention. You got to do all this stuff to it. And it's tough when you don't know that thing. So you spoke about the mentors and having a good, strong group of people around too. And you said it great there because I know a lot of people learn from these gurus or these experts and such, but you also learn a lot from people who are close to you in similar areas. It's part of the reason why I started my mastermind group, because I got a bunch of other entrepreneurs, same stages, a little bit ahead, a little bit below in terms of progress for their journey, but you get shared opportunities, you get to share context, you get to share experiences, so you don't have to spend that time relearning somebody else's setbacks, and that just expedites your process for continuing to grow forward. So you being able to connect with all of these other guys and sharing and now giving back, I can see the full circle kind of going through. So that's pretty awesome stuff. And so I want to, because you got these connections, you got like the people you're connecting with, the mentors and stuff. If somebody listening right here is trying to build their first or maybe even their second side business while working full time, what would be your like number one piece of advice for that?
My first one is my number one piece is definitely like really analyze on what's driving you to do so. Because like you said before, burnout is real. You can't be in 3 different places at one time. So analyze why you're doing it and how you're going to do it. So I took on a business partner for my ATM business. And like I said, I'm toying around with credit cards a little bit. That hasn't gotten off the ground as much as I wanted to yet, but we're kind of hoping that takes off as well. But I do that with somebody. I have to share profits with them, but I'd rather do that for the coverage. So because I can't be in 3 places at once, 4 places at once. I mean, I have 2 kids, 5 places at once, whatever. But just really have a plan and think of every possible way you can fail, and then think about how you're going to overcome that. Build that in before you even strap up the boots and start that. Depending on what your 9 to 5 is, what your other side hustle is. If you're running an Etsy shop, all right, cool. Like things are coming in. But what happens if that takes off? What happens if you have the next viral product that comes out? How are you going to do both of those things at the same time? And not that it's impossible. You just want to have a plan, and people in place ready to go for when that does happen. Also keep a positive mindset. I think about the worst things all the time. And it's almost like, I don't want to say it's anxiety. It doesn't debilitate me, but
Yeah, I was going to say, is that healthy?
I then try to think of, okay, how do I avoid this? And I always try to be, a couple of steps ahead. Even with my kids, I'm like, all right, my son's a little wild. He likes to jump off the couch. All right. I can tell him no as much as I want, turn my back, and there he is thinking, he's Superman or something. So what do? Rather than keep resisting it when mom's not looking, the pillow's on the floor so that way he doesn't smack his head. All right. I am effectively mitigating the risk of going to the ER at that point. So prime example, this is a holiday weekend coming up. Banks are closed on Monday. I can't get any cash after 2 o'clock on on Saturday. So I have to be ready in case, you know, somebody has some type of holiday party over the weekend and blows through cash that, they're not going to have enough for normal course of business on Monday. So I keep a reserve every weekend on me ready to go. So that way, if something happens, I can go put that there. Think of a problem. Think of a way how to try to get ahead of it, or I fill them up a little bit more and than I normally do. So that costs me a little bit of money because I use a vehicle called the line of credit. Uh, it's a bank product that any business can get. It's like a credit card. If anybody's not familiar with it, and I pull from my line of credit by Tuesday, I put it back. So that way, I don't have to keep paying interest on it. And, my machines are still filled to their normal amount at that point. So I get through the holiday weekend. I get through the busy point. I get through the part where the banks aren't open and I can't fill machines on Monday because I don't have any cash on me because I can't get cash. And I just think of a way, either like I said, I fill them or I have a reserve on me. So
Yeah, I love that. So you were mentioning about like planning for the worst, but you had also mentioned planning for the best too. And I've seen a lot of service-based industry professionals coming in, and a lot of times like personal trainers, and they're so worried trying to get their first few clients, and usually have them doing a little exercise where it's like, okay, well, if I were to just give you 50 to 100 clients, what would your system look like? How would you do that? And most of the time they just can't handle that. They don't know because they don't have the things in place to do that. And that's another exercise to kind of think ahead and make sure that you're preparing for the best, because that very well might happen, especially with today's world with social media. Things can go viral at any instant. But before we were talking and like why you agreed to kind of come on and share, is because you're in a season right now all around like connecting and giving back, and interested because like how do people best connect with you? Like where do they go? How can they stay in touch or stay up to date with the different projects and things you're doing? How do they keep in touch with you?
yeah, I'm really not, I don't generate enough content to do like a social media page like that. I have my personal pages. I have a Facebook, I have an Instagram. People are more than welcome to add me on there. On either one of those. I have a LinkedIn that I send my check. I think I have a message from you I got to get back to you on. Um, but those three things, connect with me on there and then we can take the conversation from there, really. I will say too, I spoke in front of some college students last year, local SUNY Newports, and there's a finance club. And I can tell you, I got on a whole tangent that took up the entire conversation about networking. And I'm not talking about like the Chamber of Commerce mixers and whatnot. Like those are good to meet some people and whatnot. But, it's really find those mentors who have a network that you can then kind of get in with and be able to ask for the referrals too. So, if anytime you can network on things like social media or in person, don't say no to those things. I mean, you'll find out really quick if going to every single mixer of a Chamber of Commerce is worth it or not. But, I try to pop into 2 or 3 a year just to check in on what's going on with other people. But I can tell you, I had about 50 requests right after that on my LinkedIn, and it was funny. It was all like students, but I told them to. But yeah, those are the best ways. Just Facebook, LinkedIn, Facebook. We can start a conversation, we keep the conversation going, and as we do, that's when I kind of bring stuff up. I don't have enough time to generate content. If I wanted to do social media, I would want to go all in on it and be able to post every day. I just don't have the time to.
Yeah. And I mean, that becomes its own kind of side hustle itself. And like that's obviously a whole nother industry and kind of career, trying to become like an influencer, connecting things through that. Social media is still there to be social. So whether it's like even just using email or just social media just to connect, one of my mentors always harps on like building the relationship before you need the relationship. So being human, connecting, showing genuine interest in what people are doing, offering help however you can. Those are the best ways that I've seen to connect with and grow relationships. When I go to networking events, I just basically look to see if I can find somebody who I'd like to invite to go grab sushi with me at a later date and just kind of sit down and chop it up. But I do want to be courteous of our time, and I want to thank you for taking the time today to kind of hop on, share your insights and your experiences. Hopefully some people are here listening, taking some notes because you shared a lot of great, valuable information. Before I let you go, though, I want to ask you, final question. If you were to fast forward 15, 20 years from now, what is it that you hope people say about the way that you built your businesses and balance your life?
I'll say 2 words: ethical and integrity. Those 2 are very common core beliefs of mine. You know, the old adage is, if you're not first, then you either steal or you cheat. And I don't believe in any of those 2 things. So, I want to be able to, people say that, they want to do business with me, and that I've built it in a way that is admirable and that they can look up to.
Nice. Love it, man. Love it. And appreciate you. Thank you again for taking the time on. Love to have you back on someday in the future.
Yeah, man. Anytime. Hit me up.
Of course. Peace, peace, peace. And that's it for this episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found this valuable, the best way to support the show is to rate and review on Apple or Spotify. It helps get the show in front of more driven individuals just like you, and helps them discover the tools to get unstuck, break through burnout, and build something real. And you can always connect deeper with me, our guests, or grab free resources at survivingthesidehustle.com/Rob. Whether it's a strategy call, the Prime Performance Personality Quiz, some of our products, or just to check out our free content library, connect with us over at survivingthesidehustle.com/Rob. And hey, remember this: you weren't meant to just grind. You were built to grow. So stay conscious, stay committed, and keep showing up. Peace, guys.